All right, guys, welcome back to Downtown Rams. As always, I'm Alexis Kraft, joined here with my co host, Jake Ellenbogen. And guys, we are coming to you after a heartbreaking Thursday night football loss against the San Francisco 49ers at SoFi Stadium last night in prime time. It was a loss that I think
When
none
you
of
put it that
us.
way, I didn't even
when
know. I was literally in LA last night. When you put it that way, that's weird.
Yeah, Jake was at the game, so Jake got to experience heartbreak in person,
Yes, we love that.
which a lot of people listening probably did as well if you were at the game last night at SoFi. But all of us are devastated, rightfully so. It was a game that we should not have lost. We weren't expecting to lose, and yet we did, for a lot of different reasons. And something that, I know a lot of us Rams fans are in agreement on, because there's a lot I think that happened in the game that we disagree on. But one thing I think we all are consistent about is that really from the first drive of that game, this Rams team did not seem like themselves. They felt flat, they felt confused, they felt lost, it felt like the effort wasn't there. And listen, this is a short week, but it was a short week for the 49ers too. And the 49ers, let's just call a spade, were severely injured offensively. That was part of the reason that we all, I think, had a good feeling about the Rams, right, in this game. And, injuries happen and the 49ers were dealing with that. So it just felt like, Jake, from the first drive, this team seemed so baffling, so confusing in a way that I hate to say it, almost felt like a team coming in expecting to win. And especially defensively, I mean, towards the game, I felt like the defense and offense, as they often do, switched, right? Which is part of the problem with this Rams team is we can never just all be up here the entire game. It has to kind of fluctuate. And I felt like defensively, this Shanahan offense, as they typically do, kind of had their way with the Rams defense. And it was just a bummer, to watch that, happen the entire game. And then the offense struggled to score, and then they kind of got involved, right? They got creative. They were able to claw their way back. And then they end up losing in overtime. And we're going to talk about the reasons that happened. But overall, I just think it was not a solid effort all four quarters of the football game. And that has been the Rams' biggest enemy this season, in my opinion, is beating themselves. They've not played a consistent game from start to finish, and they're not going to be competitive if they can't figure it out. So, Jake, you were at the game, which seemed like until the loss a good time. It seemed like you had a really nice couple days in LA, and were able to have some fun when you weren't watching the Rams play football. So, as unfortunate as that is, but Jake, looking at this game, I mean, really, there was failures everywhere, defensively, offensively, special teams, highlight underscore capitalize special teams errors. What's your overall impression of what happened here? And we'll get into things specifically, but what happened?
The Rams didn't show up in the form that you were hoping for. I don't really. I guess let's start with the defense because I think it really starts with the defense. Okay, time of possession battle is a big deal in the NFL. And apologies ahead of time. I lost my voice because you guys are always like, yeah, make a lot of noise when you go to SoFi. Well, I did, and I'm paying for
Good job.
it. Uh, but the Rams' time of possession is insane. I don't think I've ever seen this. Maybe I have. When they play the 49ers in prime time, when they got blown out and they ran the ball 40 times. The 49ers had 40-04 in time of possession. The Rams had 26-20. Now, I want to be honest here. My biggest issue with the defense, first off, we were right. We told you guys, Akella Witherspoon is very key and critical for this secondary. He's been gone for a few games now. And this secondary corners, I don't want to rip on the safeties. I think the safeties are still great. The corners are struggling. Emmanuel Forbes is struggling. I think Emmanuel Forbes looked pretty decent when he was on the field with Akello. But without Akello, he looks not great. Darius Williams, I thought he was the best last night. And Kobe Durant struggled. So right now, the cornerbacks just gave up 142 yards to Kendrick Bourne. I like Kendrick Bourne. I've always liked Kendrick Bourne. Went to the same school as Cooper Kupp. He's always been a guy that I really liked. But Kendrick Bourne had a legacy game last night. I'm watching this guy, and he looks like freaking Jerry Rice in person. And a lot of those plays were yards after the catch. He caught 10 of 11 targets for 142 yards. He had a 35-yard play. So right now, you look at those corners, not great. The linebackers got abused in coverage. More so the game plan, which I disagree with, and I'll get into that. Chris Shula. Mac Jones is not Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Insert any elite quarterback there. He's not Matthew Stafford. Why did you go away from playing the normal cover 3 that you've been playing this year? Why did you play so much cover 2? Why were you trying to eliminate the explosives? Don't you realize the 49ers' MO by now? The 49ers' MO is entirely the short passing attack, but you're able to get yards after the catch. We've talked about this forever. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, these are Jawan Jennings. These are guys that make plays after the catch. George Kittle. Their whole MO, Christian McCaffrey. Lo and behold, Christian McCaffrey had 82 yards receiving on 8 catches. You want to know how many yards after the catch he had? 78. 78 of his 82 came after the catch, meaning he's just getting dinks and dunks and just taking it. So, Alexis, I think we have to start here. What was Chris Shula thinking coming into this game? Why are you game planning against Mac Jones like he's going to throw bombs down the field?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. I haven't figured that out. There was no robber underneath, so when Mac Jones was just playing pitch and catch with wide open receivers, there's nobody underneath to kind of jump those routes. I don't really get it.
No.
I really do feel like Chris Shula's game plan was atrocious, and I think really it did 2 different things. One, it gave the 49ers confidence they could literally do whatever they wanted. And they were totally fine just playing pitch and catch. They noticed they didn't need to take a shot down the field. They were fine just hitting those 7, 8-yard plays. Now it's 2nd and 2. Now it's 3rd and 1. Right? So that's hard to defend. Mac Jones is just standing tall in the pocket. I don't know why the pass rush. I know they ended up getting like 18 pressures according to PFF. Pass rush wasn't great. They sent blitzers. They didn't get through. The blitzing has not been great either. They have not been getting home. And you have to because it leaves the guy wide open. So I think 1, Chris Shula really kind of screwed them on that. But number 2, because of that, now the way the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan wanted to run the offense, they wanted to use Mac Jones as a game manager. And Mac Jones, the numbers are a little ridiculous here. Okay? A lot of respect for him. I told you he'd be a 49er if you've been following the channel. 342 yards, 2 touchdowns. But out of the 342, he's probably got over 150 yards after the catch yards. And so that right there is a player that was just doing his job, was managing the game, not making mistakes, and letting everything kind of come to him. And it worked out. And what it ultimately did, Alexis, kept them on the field 40 minutes of a 60-minute game, 66-minute game because they went to overtime.
Yeah.
But not only that, it kept the offense off the field that basically was going down the field at will. They only ran 64 plays to the 49ers 83, Alexis. They had a fewer possession, and they still had more total yards at 456 to 407. Yards per play is astronomical. And this is where I have to push back on people saying the Rams didn't show up. their offense did. They had 7.1 yards per play to the 49ers 4.9. So they were potent and they were efficient, but they only had the ball 26 minutes in the game. And guess what? Because of that, the defense already didn't show up well. The game plan already sucked. But now you factor in the fact that, look, they're on the field for 40 minutes in this game. They were exhausted. They weren't playing well before they were exhausted. They're not going to play much better when they're exhausted. So I think, Alexis, the dialogue has to start with Chris Shula. I saw you tweet it out. I agree. I have no idea what he was thinking. But you got to just tip your cap to the 49ers offense. They did a great job of, attacking a very lenient defense. It was really bizarre the way that they decided to manage this.
I truly feel like Shula needs to answer for this because it was
Yeah.
so surprising, especially knowing the way that Shanahan operates his offense. And we have to give Kyle Shanahan credit. Listen, it's not a fun thing to do to give him props, but you look at his record versus Sean McVay, and you have to. He's a very good coach. I really believe that he can make his offense work with anybody, whoever is in there, and that's something that's said a lot. And again, why are you playing so far off of these receivers, especially throughout the first half? That shit should have been knocked out at the very minimum two offensive drives. I mean, for the 49ers, I mean, that became very, very clear very early on that they were going to have a lot of success with that. There should have been adjustments, and there was no adjustments, right?
No.
It was the coverage was so bad that it was hard to really be like, who is struggling and who is just playing the scheme that they're being asked to play right now. So it just, that there was a total drop by Chula, and that game plan was just entirely unacceptable. And I really, as you said, there's no explanation for why that happened. I don't know how you can do that against the Kyle Shanahan offense, and I don't know how you can continue to do it through multiple quarters of a football game. And the defense, and kind of like I talked about in the intro, the problem is like the defense made some minor adjustments going forward, and then they end up stepping up later on in the game, right? We had some big stops, right? Especially as the offense gets hot. But again, it's like we can't afford to do that anymore, because the problem that this Rams team keeps falling into is that they can't have 4 quarters of football with a consistent offense and defense. And it's really causing problems for the team. I mean, it's going to be hard to win football games if you can't both be on the same page at the same time. And it's frustrating because I really do think that the majority of this loss falls on how the defense operated early on in the game. I mean, you can't let Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne do that. You just can't. There's no excuse. It was so, listen, I give them props. I do give the 49ers offense props. They were injured. Nobody believed in them, really. I mean, in the media, even, I give them props. I mean, the Rams got utterly embarrassed by Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne. And what's that tight end's name? Tonga?
Jake Tonges. Oh my God.
Tonges. I mean, listen, like, it's embarrassing. The Rams should feel embarrassed, and they should feel demoralized, at least for a few days after that, and use that to light their fire defensively, because the way that all went down in the first half is just entirely unacceptable. And so that, again, it's not the only reason that the Rams lost this football game, but I think that the tone that was set defensively was so poor to start this football game that I think that's when we all thought, okay, this might not go the way we want, right? When we see the 49ers offense marching with ease down the field on our
Yeah.
fully healthy defense, not good. So I think going forward, there's going to have to be some answers that come from Chris Shula on that, and there's going to have to be a different game plan going forward. But yeah, I mean, the secondary, Jake, I mean, I thought the secondary really struggled in this game, but particularly corners, as you pointed out. That's going to be a discussion going forward. Is the Rams need to get a true CB1 now. We don't have one at the moment. We we're having these inconsistent games from Forbes and Durant and Williams. Like, you need to go get a guy that you can rely on and who's going to set the tone for the secondary, because that is just not good enough. And it's you're
Yeah.
not going to be able to compete, as we've seen in every game this season. This We didn't just struggle at corner this game. It's been an every game issue. So I don't know. I think I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about the defense before we move on, but I just felt like it was really disheartening to see the defense come out the way they did, not just with the scheme, but they just felt flat. Like they didn't have any life, they didn't have any grit to them, in a way that was super apparent from the first drive.
Yeah, I mean, I want to give them credit in a sense where the coaching staff decides, okay, Emmanuel Forbes, you haven't really been doing a lot for us, so you're going to play 15 snaps. Darius Williams is going to play 40, and Kobe Durant is going to play 49. Agreed with that, right? What I didn't agree with is now you're playing cover two beater. You're going to, obviously, anybody that knows this, you're going to throw over the middle. And because of that, I felt like now Nate Landman's getting picked on. And I thought Landman played well, but the stats will show Landman gave up 7 catches on 11 targets for 89 yards. Personally, I don't think it's that bad considering how often he was kind of left on an island there. Still forced 2 pass breakups in this game. So he looked good. I thought Quentin Lake, he didn't look like the best, but I didn't think he was as bad as people were saying. Gave up 7 of 8 catches for 80 yards. Again, tough assignment, had a pass break up there. I thought, Cam Curl looked fine. Jalen McCullough, I would like to see them use him more as a robber. I think they could have, had a pick over the middle. Honestly, you want to know what Mac Jones, the game plan reminded me of, those quick slants over the middle. Looked like I was watching Tom Brady and the New England Patriots just continuously hit over the middle for whatever reason. And we'd all be sitting at home. Well, you know where he's going. Why is that open over the middle of the field? Right. And that's how it felt. But I got a lot of respect for Mac Jones. I do. And I'll say this, and I said it on many shows. Mac Jones, if he's not better than Brock Purdy, he's near Brock Purdy. And the fact that he's near Brock Purdy and cost 2 years, $8 million as opposed to the 50 plus million Brock Purdy's getting. Well, now you have yourself a quarterback controversy. It's going to get
Yeah.
interesting in San Francisco, but this is my take. I think that's bad for the Rams. The fact that they found this out is bad for the Rams. Very bad. What I would do if I was the 49ers is I would try and trade Brock Purdy right now to a contender. See, like anybody that's trying to upgrade their quarterback, I would trade him. I would go all in on Mac Jones. And the reason being is because you look at Jared Goff, right? When the Rams first had Jared Goff on a rookie deal, what were they able to do? Go out and get Ndamukong Suh, go out and get Aqib Talib, go out and get Marcus Peters. Because now you have a quarterback contract that's a rookie contract. I'm not saying Mac Jones is a rookie, but getting a guy that can play like what we saw last night at 2 years, $8 million a year, $4 million a year, 2 years, $8 million. That is insane. Those margins are absolutely unreal. If he can play like that and they get on for $4 million for the next 2 years, there's no doubt about it. They should be contenders next year without a doubt. And now they can pour all their money, instead of worrying about him, they can pour it into fixing the defense, adding another player, in the offense. Like, that's what I'm talking about. So, yeah, wrapping it up in a bow, though, I don't know what the defense was thinking. The irony is you were worried about Mac Jones beating you through the air, but Mac Jones ends up getting explosive plays by just dinking and dunking his way to do it because you gave him open field. And that's the thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we can move on. I thought the Rams defended the run well, but I don't think Christian McCaffrey's a good running back anymore. I just don't. He's a receiver. That's all he is. 2.8 yards per carry. He's lost it. He's clearly hit a wall. Injuries, right? But the Rams have done a really nice job stopping the run. Maybe they put a little bit too much focus on that, not enough on Mac Jones and what he could do just dinking and dunking. But anyway, the offense, Alexis,
Yeah.
which, you know what I hate about, and I already kind of told you, but the offense had the same amount of first downs as the 49ers, 27, despite the fact that they had 14 fewer minutes of holding the football. Okay? The offense was 4 of 10, 4 out of 10 on third down, 2 out of 3 on fourth down. It's only 64 plays, 456 yards. They looked really good. They really did. They moved the ball at will. My biggest concern, and this is my biggest concern, is that I feel like Sean McVay gets, again, and I've been saying this, he gets in his head. Things that are working, he goes away from because he's anticipating the other team figuring it out before they do. And that's my concern. Like, I don't understand. Well, let's start off with this. I don't understand why Blake Corum is in there on the pitch. See, everyone's talking about Kyron Williams' fumble as if that lost them the game, right? Because of the moment it happened. And we'll talk about it. Don't worry, guys. We'll talk about it. I have my thoughts. Alexa has her thoughts. And we'll be fair. We will. But that said, okay, Blake Corum drops a pitch. See, Kyron Williams, his fumble, he got punched in the face. So regardless of how you feel about it, whatever, like, he fumbled. That was a forced fumble. The team had to do something to force said fumble. Blake Corum was an unforced error. He literally didn't catch the pitch. And then people on the internet want to say it wasn't a good toss by Stafford. No, you're making excuses for him. You're holding it a completely different double standard here because you're saying Kyron, okay, he fumbled. That's a big deal. Blake Corum dropped the freaking ball in the backfield. And we're trying to make excuse about, oh, well, Stafford didn't throw it. No, that's bullshit. So I'm going to tee you up, Alexis, okay? I feel as though Kyron absolutely was in the wrong because he had 3 more runs after that first down. You see him holding it, right? He's done such a good job of covering it up. I was right next to Jesse at SoFi saying it. I was like, I love the way Kyron does this. I need to see more of that from Blake Corum. Like, when he runs it, you could tell he hasn't experienced those fumbles yet, right? He doesn't cover. Kyron's been covering perfectly. So what happened? Well, you watch, and Kyron's actually covered up. And what he doesn't realize is in that moment, he sees pay dirt. So then he tries to kind of kick it into that extra gear. And this is where you're wrong to do that. I understand wanting to be the hero. Guess what? You were going to be the hero. Take the yards. Cover up. Take the yards. We're going to go back to you. They had 3 more plays. That was 4 down territory. You have to know, Sean McVay has mentioned this before. If it's not 4th down, I don't want you stretching the ball out because you could, do a Adonai Mitchell, right? He's been saying that. He said that forever. He doesn't want guys on his team stretching the ball out to try to reach for the pylon and accidentally fumble unless it is required and it's a 4th down winner take all play. Kyron has to be better at covering up, which he was doing, hold the cover up, and if he gets in, great. If not, it's 2nd and goal, and I could just run it to Kyron again, or I can throw it with Matthew Stafford, who they couldn't stop. But that's the problem, is that play, no one seems to want to talk about that point, is that Kyron literally is covering it up, and then he's like, oh, I have a chance to just hit it home, and he goes away from his initial intentions. And because of that, you can tell it's instant regret. He was also punched in the head. I want to tell you guys this. I did the research. That's a 15-yard penalty, unnecessary roughness. You can't hit a ball carrier in the head. He gets away with it because of the giant conglomerate that is the entire offensive line, defensive line. There's just a lot of traffic in there. And so refs aren't going to call that. And then obviously you can't review that call, to have that flag. So Alfred Collins, it's a great play, but it's also illegal. You can't just go, and punch a guy right in the head. But what say you?
Well, I mean, I agree with you totally on all points. The fumble obviously is a very big point of contention right now. And listen, I'm as big of a Kyron Williams fan as they come. I am the Kyron Williams fan, arguably,
Yes.
as dubbed by everybody else on Twitter. And he made a really bad mistake. And you know what? There's been a lot of games that people have tried to pin on Kyron because people want to scapegoat him and he's the running back, and that's kind of what you do. That's the position that fumbles the most, right? And there's
Yeah.
been a lot of times where people have lazily tried to blame a loss on Kyron Williams. This is the only one I think there's even remotely an argument for, and I still think it's a lazy argument. But if somebody wants to make it, go for it. If you want to say that that one play lost the Rams the game, then you didn't watch the entire game. And something else that people always say in professional sports or college sports, or any of you who've played sports, you know what coaches say. Don't put yourself in a position to lose because of one play or a bad play call, right? But it was bad. As you said, you can watch it happen in real time. It was half a second. He had it covered. I think that you're right. He saw it and he wanted to make sure he got there, and he put his arm down to throw himself into the end zone. And that second, it was a mistake and it was
Yeah.
bad, and he can't make that. However, as you said, he also did fully get punched in the face. And had that been caught, it would have been a 15-yard penalty. So that is a bummer. I'm not so much in the camp that to say that he wouldn't have fumbled had he not gotten punched, we're not going to know that.
That's
He
true.
he he took his arm down. It certainly played a factor because the punch follow through is what ended up knocking the ball out, and he does go limp. If you watch that clip, it's everywhere. After he gets hit, I mean, his arms just he does go limp. It's still not an excuse though, because as we said, he made a really bad mistake diving into that end zone, and it is what it is. I think it's unfortunate. I think though the discourse around Kyron Williams is unfair for this game. You want to talk about the Rams offense. Kyron Williams had two receiving touchdowns for the Rams over 160 yards total between rushing and receiving yards. So if you take Kyron Williams out of that game, you're getting beat by the 49ers by a lot more than you did, right? So
Yeah.
it is just that the great irony, and that what's so painful I think about that is that for him, he was the hero of that game and was about to be an even bigger hero, and he became the villain unintentionally with that one play. And I don't think that's fair to say.
I don't think it's fair.
I don't think it's fair because I think, listen, you win and lose as a team. There were so many things the Rams did wrong in this game against the 49ers, and so many things that Kyron Williams did that got the Rams in a position to even make a win possible. That makes that statement unfair, but he did make a mistake, and I think it's fair to criticize him for it. I think it's fair to talk about the fumbling issue. He's going to have to earn trust back, and he's going to have to, and I think he will. I mean, he's such a critical part of that offense, but again, I think the discourse has been really unfair. Uh, but it was bad. It was a really bad fumble at the worst time he could have done that in the game, and I feel for him. Um, and yeah, I think I don't know. It's just bad. The punch in the head, not great. The 4th and 1 call, we should talk about that. Listen, I agreed with going for it on 4th and 1, but I think that was a horrible call. And I know that you
Awful.
agree with me. That was the worst call, and it has nothing to even do with Kyron.
No, they
You just
ran the
went,
damn thing against the Eagles. It's the
yeah,
same. That was
it's the
already on
same.
tape.
It's just a bad play call for a lot of reasons, but particularly, why do you take the ball out of Matthew Stafford's hands? You're working down the field in overtime, and Matthew Stafford is as hot as he's been the entire game. And he's dishing out the ball. I mean, he dished it to Kyron too. Kyron made some critical catches, right,
Yeah.
in that drive. And yet you get to 4th and 1, you decide to go for it to win the game, and you run that play. And the reason that play didn't work is because our blocking that play was atrocious from both the line and the receivers who were blocking. I mean, if you go and rewatch that 4th and 1 play, they folded immediately. It was bad, and they were expecting it, San Francisco,
Yeah.
that it just I can't believe you make that play call. If I had the choice between running that play call and just kicking it, I think I would have rather have kicked it.
They
That's how
ran at the
little
right guard once the whole day, and that was that play.
that's
And
how, yeah, little faith I have in that play call. And it just again, play calling, we talk about defense, we talk about the offensive failures, which just early on in the game, I think was, game plan. You look at the offensive drive, obviously that fumble by Quorum, not good. And then, you get the receiving touchdown from Kyron, but then you had a couple drives where, the offense stalled out. And it's like Terrence Ferguson, you use one time,
Oh
and
my
it's a great
goodness.
play.
It's so great.
And then you don't do anything. You use Davis Allen once, and
You're
he's
three
great.
for five in the red zone. Why is Terrence Ferguson not in every single time you're in the red zone? It's
It's
like
just
literally what they've been
completely,
missing.
it is. And it's, again, it's hard. And it's like, why can we not get Tutu Atwell had a great game. Every time that he was I think he had one target that didn't go his way, but he was consistent. He was great, right? You use these guys that you don't target often, and like good things happen. But again, it's like Adams, Nakua, and Kyron Williams are the only receivers for whatever reason they use consistently. And I'm not saying that, you do what works, right? Kyron
Of
Williams had two
course.
receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
Great. That's fine. But why are you, when you're struggling other times in the end zone, like, why are you not utilizing Terrence Ferguson? Why are you not, it just, that's another reason. I think the play calling, we have not seen offensive play calling be consistent. Um,
Yeah,
and
it's just yeah.
going forward, that cannot happen. But we talked about the offense. I want to talk about special teams, Jake, because there's a large sect of fans that think, and I might be in this pool. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really think it was one thing that lost us this game, but that the special teams performance this game is what blew the game for us. And it certainly, if it wasn't the reason, was a big reason. But I also think that some of the judgment is misplaced.
We got a section off special teams because I thought
Yeah, we got a
the
section.
the kicking unit is a lot different than the hands team.
Yeah.
And I
And
thought like Sean Dolak ripped that ball out, Alexis.
yeah.
He did.
Oh, for sure.
I
It
mean,
was a bad miscall.
you see what's his face, the running back for the 49ers, Guarenda, is moving forward.
Yeah.
So obviously you have those 49er fans, and if you're in here, welcome. We come in peace. But
Hmm.
you have like 49er fans that are like, you guys need to learn what forward progress is. I'm like, I think you need to learn what forward progress is. See, no one is saying, and think about this, right? No one is saying that it was a fumble that was taken away. Like, no one is saying that they didn't blow the whistle, right? We know they blew the whistle. We understand what they said about forward progress. What we're saying is that if you understand what forward progress is, they blew the whistle too quickly, and they never do that. So Bill Vinovich's crew yesterday was awful. They were bad on both sides. They really were. They were awful. And I really just felt like their MO yesterday was like, we're just going to let the offensive line hold because they just wanted a fun game on Thursday Night Football. I think they just told the officiating, look, we don't want you calling holding, because they would have called holding the entire game. Both offensive line were hold. But that forced fumble was such a bad call. You see at the stadium, like everybody there, you see it happen. It felt like it happened immediately. And then
Yeah.
on TV, you see in slow motion, there's a little bit of a struggle and then whatever. It looked like it happened immediately. Ball's on the ground. Xavier Smith's there. He runs it in. Not only do the Rams not get the touchdown, because that's initially why Rams fans were pissed, because they're telling it, oh, no touchdown. Okay, so they're down wherever. Nope, now they get to keep the ball because the officials screwed it up. And then Sean McVay is told, hey, it's not reviewable. Yeah, because you guys screwed it up.
Yeah.
That's why it's not reviewable. So
Yeah.
that needs to
bad.
be better. That cost him 6 points. I say 6 now instead of 7, because as we know now, 7 is not guaranteed. So poor Josh Carty. He's good enough to do it. It's just the kicking
Well,
unit.
that's
But yeah,
also, I want
to
to
your
talk about
point.
that too. Yeah. Well, yeah, to the point of like in the kicking is, I had obviously there was a lot of discourse, and it's also important to remember, and I think it's good for everybody to remember that like the first 48 hours after a game is not really the best time always to have discourse because people are super emotional, and it is understandable because we're all really, really upset.
Hmm.
But it can be hard for some people to be a little bit like level-headed and be like, all right, let me take a step back and actually watch this play. And let me take a step back and actually look at a box score and look at like how all of these plays led to this one and what happened over the course of the game. Because a lot of people are like calling for Cardi's head, right? They're all like, he lost us the game. He's awful. He sucks. And I'm like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. How much of what you're mad about is because of Joshua Cardi, or is it because of the blocking on that kick,
Oh
right?
yeah,
How much of what you're mad about is because Cardi had a bad kick or he had a blocked kick? And how like you know what I mean? It's like it's hard, and like this is why we need to talk about it because I don't have a problem with Joshua Cardi. He's great. He's a good kicker. What he's been doing with like those kicks and like the knuckleballs and everything, great. What I don't love is I don't love the blocking on these kicks. I think is putrid. I
it's
think
awful.
the same issues that we saw in Philadelphia are perpetual. I mean, they are still bad. The blocking is bad, and the offensive line it ties into the offensive line. I don't trust the offensive line depth at all. Um, and that's the special team. So when we talk about special teams and we talk about it's really the kicking unit, and I just think it's unacceptable. I think it's going to come back to haunt you. Sean McVay himself said it's cost us 2 games, which is true. I mean, again, I'm not gonna say there was a lot of things that went wrong in this game, and you and I both said it a lot because I don't want to be like the blocking on the kicks, but it was a really, really big reason we lost. And I think if this team wants to compete, they have to find a way to figure it out. They have to. It's embarrassing. It can't continue to happen like this. You have to be a competent special teams unit if you want to be competitive in the National Football League. And what we watched unfold last night was not appropriate and not good. So
No,
that's my thought on that. And I think what I really just wanted to get in there and just kind of defend Joshua Cardi a little bit because I think a lot of people are gonna when they calm down a little bit, they're gonna go rewatch the game or rewatch the plays and understand that these problems are not the one thing I think we can criticize Cardi for a little bit is that error he made in overtime with the kick. But
yeah,
that um it just I don't
that
know.
yeah,
I
that
don't that's
wasn't
my
good.
piece.
That
That's
wasn't
my
good.
piece. Special teams absolutely unacceptable. And
Oh,
it's the same shit we saw with Philly.
overtime needs to go back to 15-minute quarters. This is so stupid. It's just dumb.
Yeah.
10 minutes, and then there's gonna be a tie. Like, you think Sean McVay was gonna take a tie? He's like, I'll take a loss over a tie, and then he expedited the loss by going. Okay, I want to talk about Matthew Stafford. I thought Stafford was in his bag in this game. 88 to Devontae, 85 to Nakua, 72 to Atwell, 66 to Kyron, 33 to Whittington. Like, spreading the ball around. Allen had 24, Ferguson had 21, right? Stafford looked really good. He did. Um, Honestly, he's up there for MVP right now, truthfully. I thought the throw he made to Tutu Atwell was one of the best throws I've ever seen. He does almost an entire like a 360, and then he launches it in Atwell in overtime. And at that point, I still didn't think the Rams were going to win. I was just like, I've seen this movie before. Like, I wasn't. There are all these Rams fans are like, oh, we got him right where we. Like, I'm like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it. This is
Yeah.
why though. That throw to Kyron before the 4th and 1. The throw to Kyron before the 4th and 1. He throws it behind Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
I don't know if people today, they probably still are complaining as much if they put it out. If Stafford puts it out in front of Kyron, the pass protection was a big reason, or the lack thereof, about why Matthew Stafford put it behind Kyron. Kyron still gets it, slides down. Now it's a 4th and 1 instead of getting the first down. Fresh set of downs, 3 minutes to go. I think when you're talking about, the way Stafford is playing, he is making all the throws. Obviously, he missed that one, although he's still connected. And Atwell, I'm convinced. I think he just thought he was throwing to Devontae Adams. Like he just threw it way over Atwell's head, but it was like perfect if Devontae was there. And then he missed the one into Kua deep down the field. But aside from that, he was unreal. He was making every throw in the book, and it's kind of crazy because they didn't really run the football a lot. So it was like they were just going up there, and the 49ers knew they were passing, and they could not stop Stafford. And you saw like Devontae Adams had his way with some of these DBs, and they did a nice job of kind of containing Puka. I mean, if you give up 10 catches for 85 and a touchdown, it's a lot better than like 10 catches for 170 yards and a touchdown, which is what I think he had last week. So I like that they got Whittington involved on that drive. That drive that was capped off by the Kyron touchdown. Or it might have been Puka Nacua, that touchdown. That drive in particular was one of the best drives of the year because it incorporated Jordan Whittington, it incorporated Tutu Atwell, it incorporated a Terrence Ferguson. Like that was a really, really nice drive. And it goes to show you that it's week 5. I can sit here and I can be knee-jerk reaction city over here and say the Rams are going nowhere. They're going nowhere. They're not winning the Super Bowl. I take everything I said back. Or I can be honest with myself and say, you know what? This is frustrating, but this Rams team is going to be so much better later on in the year. And they're already really good early on in the year. And think about this. Their 2 losses came down to the absolute last second. You're telling me an overtime on a 4th and 1, and then you're telling me on a blocked kick, a goal line fumble. These aren't like commonalities. This doesn't normally happen. You don't go to overtime every game. You don't get stopped on 4th and 1 every game. You don't fumble at the goal line every game. You don't get blocked kicks at the end of the game. It just doesn't happen. So the point being is that they've gotten to this point where the Rams' 2 losses have come in the most improbable, unlikely, fluky scenarios. That said, I'm so glad Sean McVay today, he said a bunch of things I really liked. We're going to see more Ferguson. Okay. He also said that he basically called out the kicking unit. He said, yeah, that's cost us 2 games. Right there. He also doubled down in saying we're like basically riding with Kyron Williams, which I agree with. Another thing, pass protection.
Yeah.
Stafford did a nice job of, moving around the pocket. I thought the pass pro got better over the course of the night, but Kyron Williams in blitz pickup was huge. Warren McClendon gave up 4 or 5 pressures in this game. That's a lot. That's a lot of pressures. And Kyron Williams was huge on that side. And I feel like people just kind of look at that as like, oh, it's just window dressing. It's not. It's a huge reason why he plays. It's not the only reason he plays. He's a very good player, obviously. You see the receiving. We've been talking about it. Use him in the receiving game more. He can play. But you want to know why Jarquez Hunter isn't out there? Pass protection. That is why. You want to say pass protection doesn't matter? Watch the offensive line. If you complain within the first 5 minutes of watching the offensive line, you have now just told me that they need somebody in pass pro in the backfield to help. And Kyron does that. Blake is getting better at that, but Blake can't catch now all of a sudden. Blake can't hold on to the football.
Yeah.
Jarquez Hunter's not going to block. Not right now. He's got a long way to go. I'd like to see him get some carries, but that's why he's not playing. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean the pass protection is just not good enough. And I think that, something that we've talked a lot about on this show is offensive line depth and how concerning that is. And now we've got this weird situation going on at guard, right? And Steve Avila, and, where's he at and all that. And you make a good point. A lot of people, can say what they want about Kyron Williams, but he's the only, in my opinion, complete back on the team. That's why he's out there a ton. You know, people, I don't know why people are still asking, why is he always out there? He's out there because he's the only running back that can do everything that Sean McVay wants a running back to do. Blake Corum, I think, is going to get better. I think, you know, he didn't have a good, hasn't had a good 2 games, I'd say. Um, wasn't really able to get anything done on the ground last game, and you and I talked about that, you know, against the Colts, as he was out there, I think, a lot more than he should have been. Wasn't able to catch at all in this game. And then I think the pass protection got so bad in a big game against your rival team, they had to leave Kyron Williams out there to pass protect. So that's your answer, as you just said as well. But you know, it shouldn't have to be like that. We should have an offensive line who is good at pass protecting, right? We should have an offensive line that is performing more consistently in pass protection. But again, it's just these like little nuances when you look at the pass protection, then you look at how they're blocking like field goals, right? It's just it's the blocking is just not good all around, and it's something that the Rams need to work on. Um, but yeah, Jake, I think like, you know, before we get to like the supers and everything, um, you know, this game just in closing is like so frustrating. And I think the worst part about it is it was like from the second that it started and we saw how the defense performed against the 49ers offense, it was like we all, I think, sensed what was up. Like those first 2 defensive drives just were so the team was so deflated and so tired and looked like a team, in my opinion, that felt like they were going to win. And people can disagree with that take, but that's exactly how they looked. And they finally stepped into gear, but per usual with some of these Rams losses we've seen the past couple years, it's too little, too late. You know, we dug ourselves somehow out of a hole and managed, you know, to get some touchdowns, right? And to like come back to win the game, and then we fell apart again. It should have never gotten to that point. There was just too many things that the Rams executed poorly, and it's frustrating because you just lost to a division rival that hurts you in the NFC West, which is a competitive division. Um, it's demoralizing. I mean, right? It's demoralizing, I think, for your starting defense to perform like that against that 49ers offense doesn't feel great. It's pathetic at times, right? It's demoralizing as an offense to have these struggles and to kind of be so hot and cold and be up and down. And yeah, obviously the fumble just was horrible. It was bad play. The play calling, fourth quarter, overtime, not good. Sean McVay knew it. It just is bad. It's not the game that you want to have against a division rival, and it wasn't the game that we all were expecting. And it just, again, I know we're on the same page. We want this team to put together 4 quarters of good football, and they've not done it yet through 5 weeks. They have not managed to find a game where they can be consistent and win with ease. So it is what it is. We'll see. They've got like this mini bye now because it's a Thursday night football game. So they've certainly got extra time to figure it out, come up with a game plan. You're muted, Jake.
I didn't even know I muted myself.
There you go.
SoCal, thank you for the super. Shula
Thank
defense
you.
gave up 342 yards to Mac Jones. Couldn't even walk. That couldn't even walk. Oh, because the injury. Special team coach Axe needs to go. Every game has a missed PAT. Kyron leads the league in fumbles. Sorry, but the team is not a Super Bowl contender. So, SoCal, you know I like you, obviously. But I am not going to be that negative. Not only do I believe this team is still going to win the Super Bowl, but I think that they needed this. Because getting away with this game, if they had won this game, would they have really learned their lesson? I don't think so. Sean McVay, and I actually liken him to, he's way better. Let's get this very clear. Alexis can vouch for me on this one. Big Yankee fan. The Yankees just had their manager, Aaron Boone, who never does this, by the way. He is so quick to pull his pitchers, right? Even when they're pitching well. I've definitely complained about it to you, Alexis, before. So their rookie yesterday in a series clinching game decides he's just going to have the greatest game of his career, striking out everybody. Aaron Boone, who normally takes guys out in the 5th or 6th inning, let him pitch until the 8th. And why? Because the first game of this series, his best pitcher, he took him out when he was pitching well, and the game imploded. So why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing it up because of this. Sean McVay, and obviously I don't know how he truly felt, right? But based on what I saw in the presser, Sean McVay looked like something snapped. Like he was like, yeah, that was a shitty play call. Like he messed up. I feel like when you have a game like this and you find a way to win, that's great. You can build off the fact you won. But do you actually learn your lesson? I don't believe so. I've always believed in the idea that you learn way more in a loss than you do in a win. And so part of me believes, as frustrating as this loss is, the 49ers are 4-1. I don't believe they're anywhere near as good as the Rams are. I think the Rams the defense didn't show up. The game plan was terrible. The offense showed you. The offense is nowhere near, firing on all cylinders. The offense is nowhere near a well-oiled machine yet. The offense is nowhere near healthy. They had 2 starting offensive linemen out, and yet Matthew Stafford's dropping 389 yards on them. So this offense is absolutely showing you the Rams are that much better than the 49ers. But defense, for whatever reason, didn't show up. They had a bad game. It happens. But there were things that popped up that have been issues in other games that they have found a way to get through. They found a way to get through the Indy game. There were issues in that Indy game. Maybe you don't have those lessons learned because you found a way to win in Indy, so you don't focus on those things. But when they come up again, they're in the Eagles game, and that's a loss. And they're in the 49ers game, and that's a loss. Now you start to be like, there's a lot of self-reflection, self-scouting. And so I do believe for a fact, right, 100%, that this team is going to build off this loss. They're going to beat the Ravens. They're going to beat the Jaguars. They're going to go into the bye week at 5-2. And when they do that, that's going to be a better start than any start they've had since the Super Bowl season. People forget this is a team that has been a second half of the year team the last 2 years. McVay has really turned it on. The second half of both seasons, they've lost, 2 games? We're talking like 14-2, right? Something crazy like that. They've been great down the stretch. I don't expect that to stop. They have a lot of young players that they're going to rely on. I believe Terrence Ferguson is going to be key and critical for this offense to kind of go where it needs to go. They also didn't have Tyler Higbee in this game either. But point being is that they're going to learn from this. I've not once this year seen Chris Shula call a game like that. So you know what he's going to do? Never call a game like that again. There you go. You're going to learn. And I'm telling you right now, in week 5, I can say I believe they'll win the Super Bowl. You can say they're not a Super Bowl contender. It's week 5. We have no freaking clue, truthfully, who is going to the Super Bowl or not. We don't even know who's going to the playoffs. A lot can happen. So that would be my pushback. I get that a lot. They're not a Super Bowl contender. I'm out on them. I wouldn't say that. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Do you have anything on that, Alexis, before I move on to the other super chat?
I don't. Kyron doesn't lead the league in fumbles. That's not an accurate stat. That is Derrick Henry. Also, in terms of Super Bowl contender, I don't agree. I think talent-wise they are, but I think that like the next 2 to 3 games that they play is going to be like a trial period for them because they have to clean up the things that we talked about. And if they don't, then I agree with you. Because I think that talent is not enough to be a Super Bowl contender. You get talented football teams all the time, but they have to execute. And I think that's the biggest struggle the Rams are having right now is they're beating themselves. So, I guess jury's out in that. I think they're talented enough to be.
Yeah. And then SoCal hit us again. Thank you for the super, SoCal. Always appreciate
Thank you.
Now you're letting 49ers get healthy. You're not beating them week 10. Big hole they dug themselves. See, I just disagree with that. There's no way to know that you're not beating in week 10. I think that this is honestly just one of those weird games that happened on a Thursday. I would definitely expect the Rams to come out with a fire and win, at Levi's Stadium. The 49ers are going to get healthy, but they're not going to have Nick Bosa. And that's a key and critical piece for them. You are right, though. They will have George Kittle. They'll have Ricky Pearsall. You know what? I like their chances more with those guys than I do with what they saw this week because it's in a weird way. They didn't really have film on these guys. Who has, like, Jake Tonjes, really? So, yeah, I think they'll be ready. I'm not worried about that. Appreciate the donation there. And Paul Third, thank you so much. Rams didn't do themselves any favors, but it's crazy how well all the 49ers rookies played. Looked like they hit on 3 or 4 picks. Yeah, it's pretty wild. They got a guy.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. They got a guy in Upton Stout who's turning into an absolute stud. So if you don't know him, he's in their secondary. He's in the nickel guy. He's really good. Bama boy, thank you for the 5. Do I hear Jarquez Hunter? The kicking team cost us the game. Sorry, not sorry. 4 block kicks. 4. Yeah. It's gotten bad.
Yeah. I would be very interested to see Jarquez Hunter. And as terms of the kicking, I mean, yeah, as we talked about earlier, the kicking unit is just subpar, is putting it politely.
This is true. Courtney, thank you for the 5. Should we be worried about the Rams going forward? No. Nope. Not worried. Now, if they lose to the Ravens without Lamar Jackson, okay, I'll join you in being worried, but I'm not worried right now. I expect them to come out with a fire against, they might even, who knows what they'll do to the Ravens. The Ravens are not a good team right now, so.
Yeah. I don't think we should be worried. I understand it. I think like a cautious optimism is probably the best way to put it. They have like 5 to 6 major things that they need to quickly fix. And I think that they can, but we'll see if they do. So I am not out on the Rams whatsoever, but want to see the change. I'm like that disappointed mom. It's like I want to see the changes, Don't tell me, show me. That's where I'm at.
So Ruiz, we appreciate the 2. What lesson? Red zone / fumbles, same shit, bench, COVID, hands. Is this about Kyren?
I think it's about Kyren because I saw his comments earlier. Kyren's not getting benched. He's running back 1.
Yeah, and I mean,
the foreseeable future.
Corum, and then watch him get bench pressed and just get thrown back into Stafford's knees. You got to. I mean, Matthew Stafford. Let me make this very clear. Could actually win the MVP this year. I understand. The voters probably won't allow that. They wouldn't even give him the MVP in the Super Bowl. Only quarterback in NFL history to win the Super Bowl, throw 3 touchdowns, and not win Super Bowl MVP. But point being is Matthew Stafford is playing his ass off. Like he looks so good. Can you even justify putting out somebody that can't pass protect? You can't, right?
Well, that's part. I think part of the reason why it's just so critical that they have him out there. I mean, Stafford is the engine of the offense.
Yes.
I mean, it's not. Anything happens to Stafford, it's a wrap. So.
Yeah, and like, look, like Blake Corum, can he pass protect? Yes. Can he do it consistently like Kyren? No. Can he learn how to do it consistently? Absolutely. Jury's still out, but what I've seen is Kyren is one of the better pass protecting running backs. I don't care what PFF has. Their grades on Kyren are always ridiculously bad. It's like they didn't even look at him. So, A-Dog, appreciate the 5 here. Jake, who should McVay sign out of the free agent, or should we trade for somebody? I think I really want Cam Taylor-Britt. Him, Cordell Flott of the Giants, Alante Taylor, the Saints, and then I'd probably say, last but not least, Greg Newsome of the Browns. I like all of them. So, all trades. I don't really see anybody in free agency that would help. I don't think Stephon Gilmore would be good. I just don't. I think he was falling off last year and would just ask for money. And yeah, not I'm just not really a fan, but appreciate it, A-Dog and SoCal. I'll send a positive one. Love the
Thank
Ferguson
you.
play. And y'all. Well, we appreciate it.
Thank you, SoCal. And I like the Ferguson play too.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't use him more.
Yeah, I love Ferguson, so I'm hoping we keep seeing that because he plays above the rim, and that's the thing. If you're a tight end, box out defenders like you're a power forward, play above the rim, go up and high point the football. Yeah. All right, we're gonna wrap it up here. Before we do, just want to let you guys know there is a new sleeper promo, and of course they sponsor us. So get $100 bonus match up to $100 using my code JKB, and keep in mind right now, you have a chance to go and win some money. Free $20 entry. That's a pretty freaking good deal over on Sleeper. So you want to get on the action, definitely be sure to hit the code. The link is in the description below. $20 free entry. Going to be a lot of football this weekend. No Rams. You'll have more of a chance to be able to focus on, specific games, and so I recommend it. I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, guys. I mean, thanks to everybody who came through tonight. We've got one more super, Jake. I don't want to miss it before we log
good
off.
call.
Thank you, East Coast Gridiron.
I'm still high on the Rams. This is a good time to take a loss to keep motivation high. Yeah. I agree. If you're gonna eat a loss here, you probably don't want to lose it to the 49ers of all teams, but
Yeah.
Also you want it to sting. Because when it
Yeah.
stings, you're more likely to go and change it, right? Or do something to change it. And so that's the thing. The Rams have already dealt with two of the most brutal ways of losing. This team is going to harden. They're going to be ready to go. Like I said, Ravens, I think that Jaguars game is going to be tough, but I think they still win. Then they got the bye. You go into the bye at 5-2, and now people stop really talking about that 49er game. So,
Yeah.
that's really the thing. After the bye, by the way, in case anybody's interested, they have the New Orleans Saints. Should be an easier game there. And of course, that's at SoFi. And then I'm back in Santa Clara. Rams, 49ers. I'll be at that game as well. So hopefully I don't watch the 49ers sweep the Rams. That would be obnoxious, but that's at a normal time, not on a Thursday. Are you going to be at a Thursday night game, by the way?
No, I'm going to be at the game against the Seahawks at SoFi. So I'll be at the game at SoFi November 16th. Yeah.
Gotcha.
The
Yeah, so
rivalry
that's the
jersey.
following game.
Yep. So yeah, hopefully, I think, listen, if we can win out the rest of the in-division games, that'd be great. But guys, really appreciate everybody for coming out tonight. I know it's been a really brutal 24 hours, a little over 24 hours now, but it happens. Unfortunately, it sucks. I think the Rams are going to respond to this. They're going to sharpen up moving forward, and hopefully we can see the Rams win some games. But guys, as always, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. You can follow us on social media at Downtown Rams. You can follow me on Twitter/X at the Alexis Craft. You can follow Jake at JK Bogan. And guys, we will be back to preview the matchup against the Ravens in about a week or so. But until then, as always, stay safe, take care, and go Rams.